Stage 1. The waking. You open your eyes and the ceiling is wrong. Not the ceiling itself. It's your ceiling. The same water stain. The same crack running toward the window. But the detail is wrong. You can see it too clearly. Every hairline fracture in the plaster. The exact texture of the paint. The tiny dead moth on top of the light fixture you never noticed before. The room is dark. The curtains are drawn. There is almost no light. You can see everything anyway. You sit up. The clock on the nightstand reads 3:14 a.m. You remember going to bed at 11. You remember feeling strange. A headache behind your eyes. A fever, maybe. You remember lying down. You don't remember anything after that. You stand up. Your legs work fine. Better than fine. You feel no stiffness. No grogginess. You feel completely, perfectly awake in a way you have never felt after sleep. You feel like a machine that has just been switched on. You go to the bathroom. You splash water on your face. The water is cold. You are colder. You look in the mirror and your face looks back at you. Same face. Same eyes. Everything where it should be. You press 2 fingers to your wrist to check your pulse. There is no pulse. You press harder. You move your fingers. You try the other wrist. You press 2 fingers to the side of your neck where the artery runs close to the surface. Nothing. You stand in your bathroom at 3 a.m. and your heart is not beating and you can see in the dark and you have no idea what happened to you last night. You are about to find out. Stage 2. The senses. The first thing you notice is the smell. Not a bad smell. Not at first. Just information. More information than you've ever received through your nose at one time. The soap on the bathroom counter. The shampoo. Traces of coffee from this morning still hanging in the air from the kitchen downstairs. The damp in the walls. The neighbors cooking through 3 layers of brick and insulation. All of it arriving simultaneously. All of it crisp and specific. You walk downstairs. Every step is silent. Not because you're trying to be quiet, because your body has decided that's how it moves now. You pass through the hallway and the floorboard that has creaked every day for 4 years says nothing. You go to the kitchen. You open the refrigerator. The cold air hits you and means nothing because you are already cold. You look at the food. Leftover pasta, an apple, orange juice, cheese. You are not hungry for any of it. You feel no pull toward any of it. Then you see the steak, raw, still in the supermarket packaging. You bought it 2 days ago and forgot about it. The smell of it reaches you, and every other smell in the room disappears. It is the only thing that exists. You slam the refrigerator shut. You press your back against the kitchen wall. You breathe through your mouth. You tell yourself you are fine. You tell yourself you just need a glass of water. You fill a glass and drink it. Your body sends it back up in under 30 seconds. You stand over the sink and understand that water is no longer something your body wants. You go to the window. Outside, the street is empty. 3 a.m. in a quiet neighborhood. But you can hear it all. A television 2 houses down. A dog dreaming in someone's yard. A car idling on the next street over. And beneath all of it, steady and rhythmic and everywhere, heartbeats. Your neighbors, sleeping, alive. You can hear their hearts, and the sound of them makes you feel something you have never felt before, something that lives in the same part of you as hunger, but is not hunger, something older, something patient. You step back from the window. Stage 3, the rules. You don't sleep that night. You can't. You sit in your living room until the sky starts to change. Dawn comes slowly. First the black goes to dark blue, then dark blue to gray. You watch it through the gap in the curtains. Then the first edge of direct sunlight crosses the floor. It finds your foot. The sensation is immediate and specific. Not heat. Something sharper than heat. Something that communicates damage the way a hand on a hot stove communicates damage. Your foot reacts before your brain does. You pull it back into the shadow. You look at it. The skin is red, not burned through, not blistered, just angry. It fades in 30 seconds. You close the curtains all the way. You sit in the dark and you accept what you are. You don't know how it happened. You don't know when. You go over the previous 2 days in your head. Nothing unusual. Work. Dinner alone. A walk home through the park. It was dark. It was late. There was someone on the path near the old bridge. You remember a pain in your neck. You remember sitting down on a bench and thinking you needed a minute. You remember nothing after that until the ceiling at 3 a.m. You spend the day inside, curtains sealed. You discover the rules one at a time, the way you discover the rules of a country you've moved to without a guidebook. Sunlight, no. Even through glass is bad. Direct is worse. Food, no. Your body rejects everything. Sleep, not at night. Somewhere around 9 a.m., a heaviness arrives that you can't fight. You lie down and go under, and when you surface, it is evening. Mirrors, they work fine. That part was wrong. Heartbeat, still 0. You've checked 40 times. Strength. You move the refrigerator to clean behind it without meaning to. You were barely trying. You put it back and stand there looking at your hands. Hunger growing. Every hour it grows. It is not painful yet, but it is constant. It is always there. It is the first thing you feel when you surface from sleep, and the last thing occupying your mind right now as you sit in the dark kitchen and think about the neighbors and their heartbeats and try to think about something else. You are not going to hurt anyone. You decide this on day 1. You decide it firmly and clearly, the same way you decide anything important. You write it down. You tear the paper up because you don't want to explain it if someone finds it. By day 3, the hunger has a voice. Stage 4, the city at night. You go outside on the 4th night because you have to. The hunger is no longer background noise. It is the loudest thing in your life. It has moved from want to need in the same way that thirst moves from annoyance to physical crisis. Your thoughts circle it. Your body orients toward it. You need to walk. You need to be somewhere other than that apartment with its closed curtains and its emptied refrigerator. The city receives you. Night is different now. The darkness is not darkness. It's a different kind of light. You move through the streets and every shadow is readable. Every face is visible from a distance. You walk through a crowd outside a bar and you process 40 people in 3 seconds without trying. Their faces, their postures, the ones who are drunk and the ones who are pretending to be. The one near the door who is frightened of something and hiding it, and their heartbeats. All of them. A wall of sound. You walk faster. You find a park, mostly empty. A few joggers. You sit on a bench near the trees and breathe through your mouth and try to think clearly. You make a list. You are good at lists. Lists are manageable. Problem 1, the hunger. Problem 2, you can't go to a hospital. How do you explain no heartbeat, no body temperature, photosensitivity severe enough to burn in morning sunlight? You'd end up in a research lab. Problem 3, you called in sick to work on day 1. You can't call in sick forever. Eventually someone will come to the door. Eventually someone will notice. Problem 4, you don't know who did this to you, or whether they're still out there, or whether they're going to come back. A jogger passes the bench. Woman, late 20s, headphones in, not paying attention to you. She passes within 4 feet. Her heartbeat is very clear at 4 feet. You stand up and walk in the opposite direction and don't stop walking for 40 minutes. When you get home, the hunger is worse than when you left. You sit on the kitchen floor. You try to think about who you were 6 days ago. A person with a job and a commute and a grocery list. A person who had a favorite coffee order and complained about the weather and sent emails about nothing important. That person feels very far away. Stage 5. The line. On the 6th night, you almost cross it. Almost. You are in an alley off a main road, and it is 1 a.m., and a man is sitting on a step outside a side door, smoking, alone. He is maybe 50, tired looking, jacket with a company logo, taking a break from a night shift somewhere. You stop at the end of the alley and you stand there. He hasn't seen you. You are in the dark, and you are very still, and you are very quiet, and even if he looked up, he might not process you as a person for a few seconds. Your body has learned that too, how to be part of the background. The hunger has moved past the point of negotiation. It is no longer a voice. It is the whole room. It is everything. Every thought you try to have runs through it first. Every decision gets routed through it. You are standing in a dark alley at 1 a.m., watching a tired stranger smoke a cigarette, and you are calculating the distance between you and him, and you are aware that it would take less than a second to close it. You know exactly how fast you can move now. You've tested it. He takes a drag, looks at his phone, yawns. He has no idea. You take one step forward, and then something in you, something that still knows what you used to be, locks up, goes rigid, refuses. You turn around and you walk back the way you came. You walk for 2 hours. You don't stop until the sky starts changing and the old morning heaviness begins pulling you down. You go home. You close the curtains. You lie down. You sleep. When you wake at dusk, the hunger is still there. It never leaves. But you are also still there, still yourself, still the person who turned around in the alley. For now, that is enough. You need a different solution. Stage 6. The solution. You find it on the 7th night. A hospital, large. The kind with a loading dock and a service entrance and staff coming and going at all hours. You've walked past it 100 times in your old life and never thought about what it contains. Blood banks, storage units, clinical waste, all the machinery of keeping people alive concentrated in one building. You are not proud of what you do next. You are not going to describe it in detail. What matters is that you don't hurt anyone. What matters is that you find a way in that doesn't involve anyone noticing. What matters is that when you leave an hour later, the hunger has stopped screaming. It is still there. It is always there, but it is manageable now, like a sound you've learned to live with. You establish a routine. Every few nights, always careful, always clean, never taking more than can be accounted for as normal loss or record error. You learn the hospital's rhythms the way you used to learn the rhythms of a job. When the loading dock is quiet, which door closes slowly enough to slip through, which hallway cameras have blind spots. You are good at this faster than you should be. You don't examine that too closely. You quit your job over email. You tell them a family emergency. You tell them you're moving. It's not entirely a lie. You are dealing with an emergency. You have moved from one kind of life to another kind entirely. You develop other habits. You sleep days. You walk nights. You learn which parts of the city are empty at 4 a.m. and which never fully empty. You learn to keep your distance from crowds, not because you can't handle it, because it takes energy to handle it, and some nights the energy is lower than others. You tell yourself you are managing. You are managing. Then someone starts following you. Stage 7. The hunter. You notice on a Tuesday, a woman. You've seen her before, outside your building 2 nights ago, near the park last night. Tonight she is across the street from the hospital, standing in a doorway, not looking directly at you. She is very good at not looking directly at you, but you are better at noticing things than you used to be. You change your route. She follows. You double back. She compensates. She knows what she's doing. Whoever she has done this before. She is also wearing something under her jacket. Metal. You can smell it. A specific kind of metal, clean and sharp. She has done her research. You don't confront her. Not yet. You go home and you sit and you think about it. Someone knows what you are. Someone has been watching you long enough to follow you on a pattern. They know the hospital. They know your neighborhood. They know your schedule. The question is what they want. You get your answer on Thursday. She knocks on your door at 11 p.m. She knows you're awake. Of course she does. She knocks and waits, and after a long moment you open it. She is maybe 35. Dark clothes, a bag over one shoulder. She looks at you the way you'd look at something dangerous that you've decided to approach anyway because the alternative is worse. You've been using St. Mary's, she says. Not a question. You've been watching St. Mary's, you say. She nods once. We watch all of them. You look at her. Who's we? She doesn't answer that directly. She says, you're about 3 weeks in. You haven't hurt anyone. You found a supply on your own without being told how. She pauses. That's unusual. Is that good or bad? That depends entirely on you, she says. Can I come in? Every instinct you have developed over the last 3 weeks says she is dangerous. Her heartbeat is elevated but controlled. The metal under her jacket is silver. She has a second item in the bag she doesn't want you to look at directly. You step aside and let her in anyway, because she said we, and you need to know what that means. Stage 8. The organization. Her name is Kira. She works for something she calls the registry. It is not a government organization. It is not a religious one. It predates both of the institutions you might associate with this kind of work. It is, she tells you, simply a group of people who have been managing the problem for a very long time. The problem in this context is you, not you specifically, the situation, what you are. The fact that you exist in a city of several million people and several million people don't know you exist, and keeping it that way requires active management. She tells you the numbers. There are more of you than you'd think. Worldwide, most of them in cities because cities have infrastructure, hospitals, blood supply chains, anonymity. Most of them doing what you've been doing, adapting quietly, finding a system, staying invisible. Some of them are not doing that. That's why we exist, she says. She sets the bag on your kitchen table. When someone isn't managing, when someone creates a problem, we manage it for them. You look at the bag. Manage it how? She meets your eyes. However we have to. You let that sit for a moment. And me? You say. You're here because you think I'm a problem? I'm here because you're not. She takes a card from her jacket pocket and puts it on the table. A phone number, no name. You're here because you're 3 weeks in and still intact. And that's the kind of person we prefer to have a conversation with early rather than late. A conversation about what? About the rules, about the supply system. We have better access than whatever you've been improvising. About staying invisible, about what happens if you don't. She stands up. And about who made you, because they did it without authorization. And we'd like to speak with them. You walk her to the door. The person in the park, you say. By the bridge, that night. We think so, she says. Do you know who they are? She pauses in the doorway. We have a name. We've been looking for them for a while. She looks at you. 3 others in 6 months. All in this city. All made without consent. You're the first one we've found still themselves. She leaves. You stand in your kitchen and look at the card with the phone number and think about what she said. 3 others. All in this city. All made without consent. Someone has been doing this on purpose. You pick up the card. Stage 9. The confrontation. It takes the registry 2 more weeks to find him. They call it a him because the name they have is male. By the time you're involved, they've been tracking him for 4 months. An address in the east of the city. A pattern of movement. A very old individual, Kira tells you, by which she means old in the way that none of the words you'd normally use for age quite apply anymore. You ask why they want you there. She says, because he made you, which means you're connected whether you want to be or not. And because sometimes the presence of someone new, someone recent, changes the conversation. You ask what kind of conversation they're expecting. She doesn't answer. The building is in an industrial area, old warehouse, partially converted. You go in at 3 a.m. with Kira and two others you haven't met before. They move the way she moves, like people who have done this enough times that the fear has been replaced by something colder and more functional. The top floor is a large open space, high windows, almost no furniture. A figure standing at the far end with his back to you, looking out at the city. He turns when you enter, and you know him, not from the park, not from that night, from before that, weeks before, a face you've seen in the neighborhood, the coffee shop, the street outside your office building, a face you processed and filed and forgot about because faces in a city are background noise. He's been watching you for a long time. He looks at Kira and her team with the expression of someone who expected this and finds it mildly inconvenient. He looks at you with something else, something that might be satisfaction. "You turned out well," he says. He sounds like he means it as a compliment. "You did this to me without asking," you say. "Yes." "Why?" He looks at you for a long moment. Then he says, "Because I've done it 11 times in the last 30 years, looking for a specific result, specific characteristics, the right kind of mind, the kind that adapts instead of breaks." He pauses. 3 weeks and still yourself. No victims. Found a supply independently. Made contact cautiously, but made it. He tilts his head slightly. "You're the first one." Kira's team moves. It happens quickly. He doesn't resist, or rather, he resists in ways that are too fast to follow and then stops as if he's decided something. As if this outcome was also acceptable, as if it was, possibly, the plan. He looks at you one more time before they take him out. "Look into what the registry does with the ones who don't adapt," he says. "Then decide who the real problem is." They take him out. You stand in the empty warehouse and look at the city through the high windows and think about what he said. 11 times, looking for the right kind of mind. The first one. You take out the card with Kira's number. You look at it. Stage 10, the truth. You do what he said. You look into it. It takes you 3 weeks. Kira is careful about what she shares, but you are better at finding things than you used to be. Your mind works differently now. It holds more. It cross-references faster. It notices what's missing from a story the way it notices a sound that stops. What's missing from the registry story? The other 3. He made 3 others before you in this city. All in the last 6 months. Kira confirmed that. All made without consent. All found by the registry. She said you were the first one still yourself. You ask her what happened to the others. She says they were managed. You ask her what that means. She tells you that some individuals can't adapt, that the hunger takes over, that the alternative is a trail of victims through a major city and an exposure event that endangers everyone, that it's a hard decision made by people who don't make it lightly. You tell her you understand. You go home and you keep looking. The registry is old, older than Kira made it sound. It has records going back centuries in formats that have changed, but the content hasn't. You find what you're looking for in a digitized archive that was not meant to be findable. The registry does not wait for someone to become a problem. The registry assesses. They watch the new ones for 3 weeks. They look for specific characteristics. The right kind of mind. The kind that adapts instead of breaks. The kind that is still themselves at week 3. The ones who adapt, they bring in, they manage, they use. The ones who don't adapt, they manage differently. You read the files on the other 3 from this city. None of them had 3 weeks. The assessment was completed faster. The file on the first one is 11 days. The second, 9. The third, 13. Managed at that point, the files say. Before any incident. Before any victim. Before any choice. You put down the file and you sit with what you now know. The man in the warehouse wasn't building an army. He wasn't making monsters. He was running an experiment with one specific purpose: to produce someone the registry couldn't justify managing. Someone intact enough, controlled enough, self-sufficient enough that eliminating them would be indefensible even by the registry's own criteria. He was trying to create someone they'd have to let live. 11 attempts, 12 including you. He didn't make you a vampire by accident. He made you a vampire as a proof of concept, a demonstration that the registry's binary, adapt perfectly or die early, was a policy choice, not a necessity. He handed himself over the moment he knew you'd turned out right. Because you were the argument. You were always the argument. You look at Kira's card on the kitchen table. She has called twice in the last week. She wants to know if you're in. She has used that word twice. In. The registry has work for someone with your characteristics. Someone the public wouldn't notice. Someone who can go where humans go. Someone who can move at night and see in the dark and hear a heartbeat from 100 feet and make decisions under pressure and not break. She is describing a useful asset. She is describing someone they will use carefully, manage closely, and eliminate the moment the cost-benefit calculation shifts. You know this because you've seen how they manage problems. You also know something she doesn't know you know. There are others. Not in this city. In other cities. Other individuals the man found and made over 30 years and handed to the registry as arguments they had to accept. Some of them have been in the registry for years, doing the work, allowed to exist because they were too useful to remove and too controlled to justify removing. They have been waiting for someone to find the archive. There is a message in the file, old, written in a format that assumed it would only be found by someone who already knew what they were looking for. It says, if you're reading this, he found you, and you turned out right. And now you have to decide what you're going to do about all of it. You put the card in your pocket. You call Kira back. You tell her you're in. You start that night. Somewhere in a city. This city. Another city. Any city with hospitals and anonymity and streets that empty at 3 a.m. Someone is waking up on a cold floor with no heartbeat and perfect vision in the dark and no idea what happened to them last night. They are going to be frightened. They are going to be careful. They are going to find a system and manage the hunger and tell themselves they are still themselves. The registry will watch them for 3 weeks. Now, so will you. Not to assess them, not to manage them, to get there first.